because the Cowboy season is over and dead, and they are a zombie dead team walking.
Let's see
Uh,
Sunday.
the mock drafts are coming out already. Okay, and I'll just ask you this: put this in the comments. If the Cowboys could add one player, their first, let's just say it's their first round pick, and he is guaranteed to be a certified badass. He's CD, he's Micah. They hit on it.
At any position?
That's the question.
Okay.
What is the position? And some of you might even say quarterback, which is a whole other discussion. But what is the position that if the Cowboys could add a first round pick and he goes off and has a great career, what is the position at this point with the team that they have now that would help them the absolute most?
For me, it's defensive tackle. If they added, I mean, and I'm not going to say Aaron Donald like that, but if you're telling me, hey, man, they got a certified stud for years to come, because, they're injured on the edges, right? So their edges aren't as bad as it appears. Now, it's not great, but I think if you have Micah, DeMarcus Lawrence is still solid, but he's not great anymore. He's just solid. But also, it really hurt them losing Williams. Like, he was going to matter this year. If they had a borderline all-pro defensive tackle, it would change everything on their defense as they get healthy. So, to me, that's what I would probably go with. What about you?
Oh, man, that's a good answer. I have so much fear of drafting a defensive tackle now because, you touch the hot stove, you get burned. And
Yeah.
the first thing I saw when I looked at a mock draft was the one with ESPN had the Cowboys drafting a defensive tackle out of Michigan.
Amazing, dude. They did that just to F your head up.
And it shouldn't matter.
But hey, for the longest time, dude, it was don't draft a guy from Duke in the NBA. I mean,
Yeah.
that was the thing forever. And then Duke had a glory. Like, okay, don't draft Kyrie Irving. Sounds good.
What about
But
don't
I
draft
get
a
it.
tall white Euro?
Right. But I get it. I mean, we have been when you sit there and go, man, I think the best player we've got out of Michigan in the last 20 years is Jordan Lewis. I mean, who's really good, but he's kind of like your third or fourth best corner on most teams.
But
That's not a high hit rate.
you were burned by Mozzie Smith so bad. I mean, he's a first round pick that probably shouldn't even have been drafted. Like he grades out as one of the worst defensive tackles in the sport.
Yeah,
Like in the entire league.
He's been bad, and then that's on the heels of Taco. That doesn't feel very
Yeah,
good.
Taco Schoonmaker.
Yeah,
I mean, what the fuck?
I shouldn't say he sucks. That's wrong. That's not fair. He has not lived up to where they drafted him. He's just a guy.
He would have been a fine 5th round pick.
Yeah.
Mozzie Smith may have been a good 7th round pick, but they took him with 1st and 2nd round picks, so I just don't trust Michigan. But yes.
But hold on. Let me just say, I haven't looked at a mock draft, and I probably won't. But you saying you can guarantee me the guy's going to hit, that's why I'm saying defensive tackle.
Yeah.
I don't know a name of a single defensive tackle that'll be drafted this year.
I think I would. I think either way, if it's a defensive tackle guaranteed to hit or a left tackle, and I think you move Guyton. Guyton played his whole career, I believe, at right tackle. Maybe he's more comfortable there and has a better shot there. He's not been good. So if you draft either way, you have to rebuild your lines in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
And so honestly, what I want to see the Cowboys do is lose every single game, because no matter what, that either puts them in a range to draft Travis Hunter, which that's exciting.
I would be down for that.
I think wide receivers make more money than corners for the most part, and so I think he would be a wide receiver first, and then would be your 4th corner maybe or 5th corner, or play
And honestly, Ben, if they're healthy, I mean, I feel like they're pretty good at corner, although I now have no idea. Remember when Deron Bland played for the Cowboys?
Yeah.
And then set an NFL record for interceptions, for touchdowns, and then disappeared. Is he good? I have no idea. Will he ever play again? Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people. The mocks are all over the place. I saw, ESPN, watching ESPN, they were talking about how it's very possible that Shador goes number 1, and Travis goes number 2.
That's insane to me.
They would go 1-2 in the draft, although there is thought that Deion Sanders will influence where each of those guys go. So if each of those guys, which easily, well, depending on needs or how team evaluates those guys, either one of those players from Colorado could be the number 1 pick in the draft. But Deion could tell that team drafting 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, they're not coming to your team. And so you might see them place. You might see Deion behind the scenes place his son, like maybe he wants his son to be a Raider, or maybe it's Travis at one, but it's so
we should say there's precedent for that. The Mannings did it with Eli.
Yeah, so we don't know how that's going to go, but the Cowboys, if they continue to lose, will be in the thick of it. And here's what I truly want: I don't think one player is going to make that much of a difference. And because they've missed on Mozzie Smith, Luke Schoonmaker, they traded 4th-round picks for Trey Lance and Jonathan Mingo. They need more picks than anything, and they're gonna miss on some picks too. So I want to, if you go lose as many games as you can. I mean, dude, it's Travis Hunter. That would be super appealing to me. But if you get up as high where you can draft him, and somebody wants to trade up and they'll give you multiple picks to go get him or a quarterback, I'd do that and trade back and get more and more picks. And so I know that's kind of a cop-out from the question, but I just think they need so many different things, and so many of the things they need aren't sexy, like, okay, just a good starting defensive tackle. They probably need two defensive linemen, 2 offensive linemen. They might need a running back, 2 receivers, maybe a tight end, probably a linebacker. Like
but
they have so many needs.
As you're saying that, and not just listing needs, if they put another elite receiver next to CeeDee Lamb, that changes the dynamic of this thing dramatically. Because keep in mind, it'll also be in conjunction with presumably getting a good offensive mind. That's the other thing about the Cowboy discussion. Like there's getting personnel that exist completely independent of whoever the coach is. Like you've got to get players, you got to get depth, you have to do that, right? And then there's this idea of, okay, if you have the right coach, you draft certain guys because they fit into a system, all that. I don't know that I believe in that. I fully believe more than anything, just get the talented players. Although they can be in the wrong scheme. I get all that. But we don't know who the coach is going to be next year. We don't know how the Joneses will approach it. My suspicion is that they're just going to bring in somebody that they're comfortable with, as opposed to go along with anything that makes sense and current NFL thought. But if they did have the number 1 pick in the draft and could trade down, let's say, to the number 3 pick or whatever, because somebody wants a quarterback, and still draft Travis Hunter, putting Travis Hunter on the field with CeeDee Lamb, with Dak, with someone that has a clue of what happens in the modern NFL offensively, would change the dynamic of this offense immensely.
Okay, so wouldn't Ashton Genty, the number 1 running back in this draft from Boise State, he's from Frisco, wouldn't he do that too? Assuming you could improve your offensive line, because the play action is not working because no one respects the Cowboys run game.
Right.
And the last thing I ever want to do is use a 1st-round pick on a running back. You can get a good one in the 4th round where you've given up all these 4th-round picks for nothing. But I watch his highlights and I can't even believe what I'm seeing. I'm like, that's a guy who at any minute can take the ball to the house. And that would change things.
What? Okay, so I haven't looked at any mock drafts. I have no idea where he's projected. But my question about him is this. I have no problem taking a running back with a top 10 pick if that running back is Saquon Barkley or Bijan. Or even, I personally don't think Zeke was a bad pick. I get it. Like, it would have been better to get Jalen Ramsey and Henry later. But if you look at the first 4 years of Zeke's career, he was spectacular.
Uh-oh.
And he was drafted to get Tony Romo to a Super Bowl. It's just Tony Romo's career ended. So I don't know that I believe that. Am I still freezing up on you?
You're freezing up a little bit.
Freeze up on you, dog?
A little bit. You're good.
Okay.
You're good.
But what I'm saying is the talent that Zeke had, he's a top 10 pick. He was incredible his first 4 years. So I'm saying all that to say, I don't know if in the minds of evaluators, the guy you're talking about is Saquon Barkley. If he's Saquon Barkley, I'll take him in the top 10.
Okay. I've seen him in mocks. Again, it's just early in mock season, but I've seen him go top 10, and I saw another one where he went like 28th. I'm like, ooh, interesting. So, but again, it doesn't have to be him. It just needs to be a good running back.
Yeah.
They need to address the position. They came into the season without even addressing the position. And so I do want to ask about this because so many people are talking about it, and it's as if the salary cap doesn't matter. You know, Dak is just going into next year, the first year of a 4-year guaranteed contract where he's getting $60 million per year. I think it was an $80 million signing bonus. We were talking about the other day, and I'm not a capologist, but it was, I think KT was saying, just for the sake of this conversation, if you were to trade Dak, if Dak waived his no trade clause like Russell Wilson did, he waived his no trade clause. You can trade me, or I'll pick the team that I go to. And the Cowboys did trade him after signing a massive contract, which that kind of happened to Aaron Rodgers, I think, a couple of years after he signed his, maybe 1 year after I can't remember. But let's just say you get through all those hurdles. I think what we were figuring out the other day is you would eat like $35 million a year for the next 4 years of dead money.
Wait, I thought it was spread out over 2 years. You're saying 4?
That's what KT was saying. So
KT doesn't know shit.
Yeah. So
tell your friend KT he don't know shit.
Okay, so whatever it is, let's say that it's $50 million over 2 years. I don't know. It's a huge amount of money you would have to eat. And if anybody has a link to whatever the actual, I don't know if any capologists have dove into this yet. Have dived into this? Have divin into this?
I think it's divin.
Jumped in. Is it divin?
No, it's not divin.
It can't be divin.
It's not divin.
It's not. Remember Jeremy
Divin? It was divin.
And that shit it's so complex. But regardless, people are moving forward. Michael Irvin is sitting there with Jerry Jones.
Yeah. He's worked in a lot of front offices. He's got a good feel for this.
How are people talking about Shador to the Cowboys under any circumstances when you can't do that with the cap, right?
Because, well, you can do it with the cap if you want to suck. This is the situation the Browns are in with their massage therapist quarterback. He's got all you can blow yourself up and suck for 2 years. You can do it. I think it makes 0 sense to do that in the NFL because you can go from 12 wins to 4 wins in one season, and you can go from 5 to 12 the next season. That's the NFL. And so the only thing that is worth tanking for in the NFL is a quarterback. That's it. And that's only if the quarterback coming out that you're tanking for is Peyton Manning. Because while we do all this, I would encourage everyone to go look at all the quarterbacks drafted in the top 10 in the last 10 years and put them in a column. Were they worth the pick or not? And then you go, oh, shit, all this thing we do, there's very few sure things. And there's a lot of guys that are badass out the gate, and then suddenly 3 years later, you don't want them anymore. That's the nature of that position. There's very few guys that are no-brainers worth tanking for. Peyton Manning, he was one of them. Made sense. He lived up to the hype. He was the quarterback god. There's some teams did that for Eli, and there's still a debate as to whether or not Eli was a good quarterback, despite the fact he won 2 Super Bowls. So my whole point is that's football's different than the NBA, where LeBron's coming out there. The only guy who can change a franchise is a quarterback.
But
there's so few guys that are sure things. Just go look at the draft the last 10 years ago. Oh yeah. Look at all these guys. Trey Lance, we sit here and we glorify the Niners front office all the time. Go look at everything they gave up to trade up to get Trey Lance, who can't even get on the field for the fucking Cowboys.
Yeah. That's why for me, it's not tanking for one position or one player. It's tanking for more assets. tank, because people will trade up to draft quarterbacks. People will trade up to get a player like Hunter.
Right.
Get up there. You have squandered so many draft picks of late. Again, those fourth-round picks are tough. In the Mingo one, maybe it works out, but that's going to be one of the first 10 picks of the fourth round. It's basically a third-round pick. And you gave that up for Mingo for 2 seasons of control of him. He better be really good.
Yeah.
I mean,
and let me say this. Do you know why he was available where he was? Because he didn't have a quarterback to throw to him. So I don't want to judge anything on Cooper Rush throwing to him.
Sure.
But it's still funny.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, I'm sure this will be something we continue to talk about. You know, we were joking about this, and thank you to everyone who's making the Super Soaker every Tuesday, Thursday morning at 10 a.m. We appreciate y'all making this a part of your daily routine. We greatly appreciate it. But we were talking about it with Johnny, who makes our thumbnails, and Jason, who produces this. We're kind of been in this rut because the Cowboys have been in this rut. The Cowboys storylines are not changing. Even in week 1, it was like, is this thing a dumpster fire? You know, it's like firing McCarthy. Who's going to be the next head coach? How do they I mean, it's a total and complete shit show. So we're stuck in this rut a little bit, and hopefully we get out of it soon.